that we have this report. Mr. President, recommending him for work well done. I want to state that, Mr. President, there are issues with the medium-term expenditure framework as presented by Solomon. Let me take first let's take page 12. Page 12, item 12. Based on the joint IMF World Bank debt sustainability framework, which was a debt GTB threshold of 56 for countries in Nigerian peer group. Mr. President, there is a problem with this. There's a problem because the debt profile, public debt profile of the country is 24 trillion. Now, Nigeria will take ourselves and compare ourselves with some of these small countries that live on donor contributions from donor countries and say that our debt sustainability profile should be moved to 56. What the Fiscal Responsibility Act of Nigeria provides is 25 as a threshold. Currently we are about 19. Now, if we now give an excuse for us to continue to pile out debt, it means that this will not be sustainable. And Mr. President, I think that the Committee on Finance should critically examine this. This is presented by Ministry of Finance. And they're comparing Nigeria to countries probably like Sudan and say that our debt sustainability threshold should be 56. Mr. President, public debt, like I said, is 24 trillion. If we continue to borrow the way they are putting it here, because it is an excuse to move it from 25, which is what our statutes provide in this country, to 56, make it unsustainable. So I believe that the committee should critically look at that. Mr. President, also, if we look at this presentation, and you take this honorable colleague, this one, the figures, not the report, and you look at item 15, which is repayment of arrears. Mr. President, Nigeria has 6 major joint ventures outside of the local ones. Now, what has happened is that last year we had about 151 billion for repayment of the joint cash call. What this means is that in the joint ventures, we are not getting a dime. We've expended money. Joint ventures are contracts that is in partnership with NNPC on behalf of the federal government. Now, in those joint ventures, 6 of them, which are the major ones, if we are not raising any money and we continue to pay the joint cash call, there's a problem, Mr. President. Because if we continue in this manner, it means that the essence is defeated. We go into partnership with IOCs in order for us to raise money to finance our budget, and then we are not getting anything. All we are doing is that we are providing money in the budget for us to pay back those cash calls. Mr. President, I think this is also not sustainable. I think that the Committee on Finance should consider this as a very serious item that we should look into. We cannot invest in joint ventures and we're not getting anything. Rather, we are providing for appropriation for us to pay back those monies. I think there's a problem with that. Mr. President, having said that, we also look at what I raised yesterday, the production sharing contracts. If we look at production sharing contracts here, we've been shortchanged. It's the same thing, good enough. Yesterday, you directed that we should do an amendment. These are joint ventures, these are contracts that we've entered into for us to be able to raise money to finance our budgets. Now, last year, which is 2019 that we're inside, 320 billion was provided for production sharing contract for us to finance the budget. Not one dime was gotten from those items. For this year, they have provided 160 billion, Mr. President. Mr. President, 160 billion, we will not get a dime. So what is the essence of entering into production sharing contract, which, like I said, has 4 components? What happens to the royalties? What happens to the taxes? What happens to the profit sharing formula? We're not getting this in. So I think that they should go deeper with NNPC. I'm happy that they've said it here. There's something wrong happening at the NNPC end. So if we enter into contracts with IOCs, whether it is joint ventures, whether it is production sharing contract, and we're not getting one dime from any of them to finance our budget, what is the essence of staying in those contracts? So I think that the Committee on Petroleum Upstream and the Committee on Finance should join hands so that in subsequent years, because in 2021 they have provided 320 we will not get. In 2022 they have provided 425 billion. We will not get a dime. So I think that these are items that the committee must critically look at for us to be able to address the issue of budget deficit. Finally, Mr. President, now we have a budget deficit of 2.something trillion here. I think that, as far as I'm concerned, that deficit is far more than that, because most of the items provided in the budget to finance those deficits are the items I've mentioned, and we're not going to get any dime. So what we have eventually is to have a deficit that is more than the 3% threshold provided by the Fiscal Responsibility Act. And so the chairman of finance, I think that you should critically look at the deficit. Deficit is 2.something trillion, but you have provisions of 160 billion. You have provision for joint venture cash flows. These are money you are not going to get. All those money are going to add to the deficit, and it will become unsustainable. The Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007 provides 3% threshold. What we are going to have will be far more than 3%, which means that the budget ab initio is not going to be implementable. And so I think that while discussing this, there's a need for us as a Senate to look at these areas so that the President will be properly informed while bringing the budget, so that he knows that what he has presented here is not exactly what the outcome might be. So, Mr. President, I want to thank you for the opportunity and ask the Committee on Finance to look at those items that I have mentioned, because they are critical to the budget implementation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.